Hello and welcome everyone to another Rimworld Rants. And just like yesterday, we have a raid going on. We will be we're gonna complete that raid, and then we'll talk about um, common courtesy. And what I mean by that is, general everyday courtesies that we seem to have be lacking as of culture lately. And that's beyond just opening doors for women, things like that. That's chivalry. That's different. What I'm referring to is specifically common courtesies. Like if if you are here's one that should be rather, I don't know, self-explanatory, I guess, or pretty easy. So you're at a grocery store and you see a that there is 1 gallon of milk left, and we don't count skim milk. We know there's lots of that, but we'll just skip over that. Nobody likes skim milk anyway. But we have 1 gallon of whole milk left. So let's just call it whole milk. And it's you, a single male individual, or female, doesn't really matter. But you're a single individual. And right next to you is a mother of 6 children. By no means should you grab that fucking milk. That should go to the mother of 6 children. Not because she deserves it, not because there's any, it's not like she's got some overwhelming right to it. By all means, if you get to it quicker, it's your milk. But common courtesy should dictate that she needs it more than you. You can go to the local convenience store, and if you really want your whole milk, because you're a single individual, you can just buy one of the single drinks out of the glass cabinet. Because one, your life is not nearly as expensive as hers. Two, if she were to go do that, it would cost her 6 times as much versus you just spending 30% more. Yeah. So that's what I'm referring to when I say common courtesy and things like that. All right. All right, let's see where these little boogers are at. We got a group down there. Just want to make sure that there's no others hiding anywhere on the map. Okay. We're going to see what they're going to do. We'll leave them to their own devices for the time being. I will watch them diligently. That way they don't. When they decide to raid, I have plenty of warning so I don't get my dudes killed. Their staging area. If I had mortars right now, I would throw one, but I don't have any actual mortar shells. I did get my mortars up, but no shells to go with them. What do you mean major break risk? What are you doing, Philly? Why are you so upset? Intense pain. Oh, you got food poisoning. Well, good for you. Ravenously hungry. Oh, well, that's irritating. Let's see what that. Pods and insects. Goodwill and a helmet for an infestation of 7 hives. No thanks. Not worth it. Well, how long are they going to be? They're beginning their assault. Alright, that seems good. Sorry about that. I have the. I seem to have allergies today. Uh-oh, this didn't go well. Maybe if my dude actually hit somebody. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, looks like I lost this one. Oh, well. Nope, she's down and they're dragging her off. That's all my colonists. Rimworld has claimed another colony. And they set fire to the place on the way out. Alright, well, looks like it's time to make a new colony. Alright. Alrighty. But, so now that that's over with, we will go with a new colony. What should we pick? The tower's still messed up. Let's try the Adeptus Mechanicus. We'll go Blood and Dust. Reload anytime. Alright, but, so Common Courtesy is, in general, something that should always be around. And I see it every single day now, lately, that we just don't have it as a people. And it frustrates me. I spend my day, I teach my kid Common Courtesy. And that, that goes more than just, while you're out in the world. Like, at home is where that starts. So that tells me, ooh, you. That as a country, and like as the family units go, you know, we are not we're not teaching these kids correctly. She can't do shooting. No, that would be dumb. But so we aren't fulfilling what we need to for them at the start. So let's a simple task for a child. uh, cleaning up your plate, putting away your fork and your dishes, not cleaning them, not taking them to the, start scrubbing them down, things like that, but just putting them away so they aren't left on the table. That is so somebody spent time to cook it, and you spent time to eat it. The least you could do is put away the thing you ate it on. Does that make sense? Like, that is just a common courtesy that you would provide, that's an example you're setting for your child and things like that. Now, it's perfectly okay for him to accept or offer to clean up everybody else's plate. If somebody at the table offers that, that's perfectly acceptable. But these are things that you have to, like, it's called common courtesy, but it is not. Sorry, these allergies are really getting me today. Um, it's not a innate thing. It's something you have to teach. It is. And we need to make sure as a whole that we are teaching people these principles, these common things that everyone should commonly practice. That's what common means. Uh, Putting away the cart correctly at the grocery store. You know, if you see, the old saying, "Oh, help the old lady across the street," that's common courtesy. That's what that was originally a part of. You know, not the laugh at the person that you get nowadays. They're so slow. Because there's just a bunch of nothing but degenerates out there for the most part. Not everybody doesn't have these anymore, but it is severely lacking these days. And it's disheartening for me in particular because the way I grew up was you know, if you didn't have these set of, if you didn't do these things, then you got not yelled at, but that disappointed look. Oh, you know that look. You know that look when mama's disappointed. When mama's disappointed, ain't nobody happy. Because she's not gonna yell at you, but she's gonna scowl a little, and then she's gonna let you know in another way. You're gonna find that maybe your dinner is a little colder than you expected, or that favorite dessert you want doesn't show up. You know, things like that. But so really, this is kind of leads back to the old deadbeat dad thing because this is usually, and it doesn't mean moms can't do it, as my previous example, being, but that role used to fall largely on the father figure in the household, and we don't have it anymore because there's a large number of people who don't have fathers anymore, and so that's like the root one part of the root cause. It doesn't mean that moms can't instill it, can't they know what it is. I'll tell you that because they're usually the most. I don't want to say offended because it's not quite the right word, but they're the most. They notice it the most. They notice it more than the dad does, but it is the dad's job to make sure that especially boys, that you are instilling that in them. And that the common courtesy also relates to sportsmanship, not being angry because you lost a game. That's part of common courtesy. You see it a lot, many people have seen these videos where these kids are playing video games, and then I have absolutely no problem with kids playing video games, but the kid who's screaming and yelling and then crying because he's playing Call of Duty and he's 9 years old and he just died. That is not okay. That is beyond just being a little bit on the crazy side because it's a video game and you haven't explained to your kid that, hey, you're going to lose video games. There's going to be somebody who's going to be able to kill you. And things of that nature. But you've now let them down in another way by not instilling good sportsmanship or, something to that degree. So we need to, as a whole, I'm sorry, real quick. All right, sorry. Took a drink of water. Hopefully that'll calm this down for the rest of this episode. But we need to, as a whole, come together and like it. Let's say there's a reason why this family, beyond, it doesn't even really matter if dad stepped out. If it's a deadbeat dad, it's a deadbeat dad. That's part of the things we have to deal with as a community now. But if you see a woman who doesn't have that, and it doesn't mean that she wants your help, but you know, offer to take the kids to go to, if you're a dad and you have a few, you have a kid here who likes to play soccer or, wants to do an outdoor sport and their kids are into outdoor sports, things like that, then help them do that. If they're not and they want to play video games, they like Smash Bros, things like that on the Switch, invite all of them over and just try to have them mingle around other kids who you've set common courtesies in motion with, and watch how quickly it's in a matter of just a few times they'll start doing it. Just snap. It's not like they're being controlled. It's that they see the social dynamic of the situation and they automatically want to, kind of participate in what everybody else is doing. Um, take for example, Eli, a kid from Rebecca, who you've heard on here, one of her kids. Um, when when I first started coming over for dinner and stuff, he never used to pick up his own plate. Now he does it every single time. It took a few times of pointing it out, and then I didn't have to do it anymore. It's not being mean. It's just saying, "Hey, bud, pick up your plate." Something as simple as that. You might get a little feedback the first time, but they'll eventually just do it without thinking. And it's not to create robots. It's so that they understand the social dynamics of the world in general. Now if they're 4 or 5 years old, just giving them helpful reminders is fine, because they're not doing it to be obstinate or because they don't care. It's because they're 4 or 5 and their attention span is, oh look, shiny fork. Oh hey, look at that over there. Squirrel. Things like that. But when we start to lose uh, common courtesy as a whole, your shooting sucks, but you have many. What are you? Why do I not care about your artistic ability? Anybody else? Plant 4 0. I'm okay with that one. This one can go. Much better. All right, we'll start with that. So as a community, or as a social entity in its entirety, if we start to lose things like common courtesy and just things of that nature, or we stop expecting that, then we stop expecting people to help one another. And when you stop expecting that, that's when this whole experiment called humanity starts to really fall apart. Um, Take the Middle East. Common courtesy in the Middle East is not actually a thing. They don't actually have it. There is no common courtesy. There, it's different. It's, oh, well, this offends me. This is offensive to me and my people. Everything is an offense. Nothing is Oh, he just didn't have the common courtesy to do this. You know, he didn't want to drink my water because it was brown, therefore I am offended. Not, oh, well, he didn't just hold it for 2 hours and pretend to drink it. You know what I mean? So if so when it comes to like things like that, like that's what we will end up being like. Instead of having things that are just kind of annoying when you have one or two individuals who don't do it, it'll start becoming the extremes. I am offended. I am this. You know what I mean? Like you have, like the old Japanese, you have dishonored my family. Things like that. Like when you go out of your way to stop doing the common things, then everything becomes a non-common, a permanent, a law, a reason to get angry. So if we just teach our kids common courtesy in general, if we as a people take up to do things in a common way, like putting your cart away, putting your dishes away, saying thank you, saying please, all these things. Like I remember there was, I don't remember who. I think it was it might have been Kate Beckinsale, but I want to say it was man. You know what? Don't even. Um, there was a movie star who said she doesn't force her kids to say please and thank you because she wants them to truly appreciate things and know that when they say please and thank you, that they actually appreciate what she's done. Well, guess what? They're just not going to do it because one, you haven't set the example. Two, you haven't instilled in them the desire to do it. Saying please and thank you every time, like I do it for the most part. Now, from time to time, we're all like guilty of, from time to time being busy and like, oh yeah, thank you, or just say yeah, and just grabbing what you've asked for, or doing things like that. Like, or when someone hands you something that, like let's say you're working on a car or something like that, somebody hands you, you just take it. You don't say a word to it. You just grab it and go and start doing what you're doing. We try to be mindful of that. Those of us who do have common courtesy, but we're human. We don't prescribe to, infallibility. But if you, for the most part, every single day of your life, try to strive to have some common courtesy, then you make everyone else's life around you better. I, for instance, always say please and thank you to the drive-through ladies and guys. It doesn't, the drive-through folk, they say please and thank you and have a nice day. Things like that. Like there are so many, even when they screw up my order, you know, because their job is, it's not any harder than some, but it's also a very thankless job. Working at McDonald's, you only get the hey, you screwed up my hamburger, or you screwed up this. It's never oh hey thanks, uh, I ate it. I can't even in good conscience try to say hey that was a great meal because it's McDonald's. You're eating there because either A, you have a child who wants chicken nuggets and you don't feel like going to the all the way to the store, grabbing them, putting them in the oven, and making them, because I understand this, because instead of your kid screaming I'm hungry versus 45 minutes later when you have chicken nuggets and they have been latched to you, sucking the life out of you the entire time. Um, I do love my kid, but kids are not easy either. But that's why you're there. So saying, "Oh, thank you, it's a fantastic meal," you're not gonna hear that. It's not a restaurant. So you're at fast food to eat fast food because you're there. But I go out of my way to make sure that they at least feel like somebody has appreciated the service they have provided. Not the food, but the service. Because that truly is the main point of that company, McDonald's. They're not there for the food, they're there for the service. You should have So take Chick-fil-A. You Chick-fil-A heavily pounds it into their head every time. Customer service, customer service, customer service. And having worked retail, it's the same thing. And you get just about the same amount of um, where people don't care. I only usually saw people when they came back and something didn't work or something was broken or it wasn't what they thought it was or something like that. And, it's only the bad side when you're the manager, especially. But anyway, the crux of my point here is go out of your way to have common courtesy. Teach your children common courtesy, and maybe we can undo what the only thing I can think of is the generation between millennials. And I know I'm actually a damn millennial. I don't like it, but I'm just not quite old enough to be a Generation X or Y or whatever it was right beforehand. But the generation that has raised the kids coming up at 18 who have been failed so miserably on common courtesy, because more than likely their parents still instilled in them the common courtesy, and there's nothing else to fight back against. Maybe I'll make that the crux of my next show, the difference between good times and bad. Most people most people alive now have never had a tragedy, like a big monumental tragedy, and the biggest one being, at least in the United States, being um, the towers falling. But these 18-year-olds and stuff, they didn't see that. The previous generation, my generation, the later portion of my generation, um, they didn't struggle. There was no struggle though, and there was no, oh well, the Nazi, like right before us, it's the Nazis. That's a struggle. Fighting off the Nazis, fighting Vietnam, um, the depression that was in the 80s. Despite what people think, the 80s was not great for most people. The early 80s, the late 70s, early 80s, there was a massive recession. It was a depression. They just like to call it a recession. It was terrible. And, we saw a little bit of that in, I think it was 2010 to 2011, somewhere around there, with the housing market crash and things like that. But it was not. We have things in place now where those things, although not very much fun, they're not as terrible as things like it would have been back in the 20s or the 40s or the 50s. Like if that had happened in 1942, it would have been terrible. But we had a war fight, so there was struggle involved, and that's people become weak, and it's almost as if I've gotten off topic here, but so I'm gonna roll that back. I might do the whole struggle thing tomorrow, but so for today, that's about it. You remember, help grandma across the street, take out the trash, clean up your plate, put the card away, say thank you, say please, as I do at the end of every one of these videos, because I thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe, because